This is RadioFire.com. Yours truly, Don McKay, in here. Thank you for joining me. I did not think I was going to have to revisit Monique. I didn't. I did not think that she was going to continue this farce of a tour. She's going around the talk shows talking about how she's this super decorated comedian, how she is, just not getting what she deserves. And she was on The View, and today they posted the video where she's on The Breakfast Club, and we're going to talk about that because a lot of people hit my inbox and they start saying I'm not supporting Monique and I should be supporting the sister, blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately for us, a lot of times people miss, they kind of screw things up and they take a personal situation and then try to make it a bigger situation than what it is. And that's the situation that Monique is dealing with, okay? Her situation is the result of bad business. Monique's situation is the result of bad business. Somebody hit my inbox today and they said that Monique, the comedian, was like Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick wanted to boycott. And we supported Colin Kaepernick, was standing up and boycott, blah, 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 blah. The boycott was something that not Colin Kaepernick did because of financial gain. He wasn't trying to gain finances from it. And that's what Monique is. Monique's journey is about self, but she's masking it in a fight for equality. And that's the problem that I have with Monique. Aside from the fact that she tells numerous lies about her being the most decorated comedian, if she's the most decorated comedian, what type of decorations are we talking about? Okay, is she talking about awards? Awards, she's not the most decorated comedian because her awards are not for comedy. That's like a rapper saying he's the most decorated rapper and he got medals in the army. But if you're talking about the most decorated comedian, wouldn't you have to have these awards for comedy? No. I mean, the awards that Monique has are for dramatic roles. And I've said that before. I don't know why that makes her upset. I don't know why that makes Sydney, her husband, upset. We're going to get to him in a minute. I don't know why that makes people upset. People want to turn things racial when they're not racial. And when they are racial, they don't want to act like it's racial. I mean, people are all screwed up. And that's part of the problem with Monique and her manager, who is her, unfortunately for her husband, right? So clearly, if you saw the Breakfast Club interview, Monique's arrogance, her arrogance during the interview is very, very, very unattractive. She's clearly arrogant, and then she has the nerve to say that she's humble. She'll say that she's humble, but yet she's oozing with arrogance. She was rude. She was nasty, and she didn't want to answer questions. Now, I'm going to say this. As a comedian, Monique is washed up. Let's not act like things are not what they are. Monique is trying to act like she doesn't know what washed up means. Now, I think that saying that Monique is a legend is a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch. But if you want to say it, that's fine. If you want to say that Monique's been a part of some legendary movements, that's fine. But I mean, saying that Monique is a legend, you're putting Monique in the same category as Richard Pryor? Do you put Monique in the same category as Eddie Murphy? Do you put Monique in the same category as Red Fox? Do you put Monique in the same category as Bill Cosby? No, you don't. I'm sorry. You don't. She's on a level below them. Now, that's just keeping it real. I mean, somebody needs to say these things, and I don't understand why nobody says them. I don't understand why nobody says it. Yes, Monique is from Baltimore. Yes, I know Monique. But that does not mean that she gets a pass when she says and does things that are not true and things that are not right. Now, if you saw the Breakfast Club interview with Charlamagne and Angela Yee and Envy and Sydney was on the phone. Every time that Charlamagne wanted to talk, Sydney had to jump in and say some dumb shit. You know what I mean? Some dumb shit. Why couldn't his ass be in the studio? Why couldn't he be in the studio? What the fuck was he doing? Oh, that's right. He got an open marriage, and he probably was in the bed with some other bitch and called into the show as Monique dumbass running around on the track. Here's my issue. Monique, she's touring. She's talking to all these people. She's asking, oh, baby, sweetheart. She's trying to get support from the white people and this people and that people. She doesn't have anything to push. You should, if you're on all these platforms, you would think you would have something to sell. You would be pushing people to a special, a performance, a video, something. No. You know why? Because you have an incompetent manager who just happens to be your husband. He's incapable of managing you correctly, because if he was, you would have had a counter offer to the low offer they gave you. They gave her a low offer, right? He was supposed to counter with a high offer, and they could have met somewhere in the middle. Now, if he was unable to do that, which he clearly was, they offered her the $500,000. Per Monique and per Sydney, who's a bad manager, we're going to take their words for a second. Per them, they were offered $500,000. And for 2 years, they couldn't do comedy, so they say. So you could have taken the $500,000, but you could have made a suggestion to, instead of 2 years of the contract because you felt the offer was low, maybe 6 months. Maybe 6 months you couldn't do comedy because they were trying to push that. There's a number of things you could have done. You could have offered a higher number. That's what negotiations are. But clearly, you can hear by the way he was rambling on that he didn't understand how to do business. Monique, you need to fire Sydney as your manager because he's not doing a good job. And it's difficult for family members to manage each other because their emotions. Your emotion gets involved. If you feel that the company disrespects you with an offer, if you're not the family member, you can look at this objectively and say, okay, we need to go to Hulu. We need to go to HBO. We need to go BET. We need to go to Apple. We need to go to Tidal. We need to go somewhere else because what we have is so valuable. Monique is such a fucking legend. And then she wants to use Lee Daniels. She wants to say that Lee Daniels and Oprah and all these people blackballed her. It is clear the way that she handled herself during this interview that she blackballed herself with her badass attitude. If you looked at that video, that's not somebody that you would want to work with. The way she came off is not somebody that you would want to work with. You know, anybody with any sense. If you're talking about business now, let's get into business, because every time she was asked a question of significance, like what makes you think that you deserve what these top earners in the game are getting, she wants to say her resume, the old shit. She wants to talk about Queens of Comedy. She wants to talk about Precious. She wants to talk about Almost Christmas, right? Let me give you an example. Let's say that a legendary rapper from the 90s, a legendary rapper from the 90s who had a hit, his biggest hit to date was in 2001, right? His biggest hit was in 2001, his most recent hit. But he was big in the 90s. And then he did a posse cut with DJ Khaled. maybe 2016. And that was a hit. But it's not only him, there's a bunch of other rappers on there as well. And he's coming saying that he should be getting what Drake is getting. Will we be looking at him like he was crazy? Yes, we would. And that's what Monique is doing. Queens of Comedy came out in 2001. 2001. That's when Queens of Comedy came out. Okay? Now, the Almost Christmas movie is an ensemble cast. People did not go see that movie because Monique was in it. There was a big cast of stars in the movie, right? But Monique wants to take all the credit for herself, right? And speaking of credit, she talks about bullies and she's standing up for bullies. And she tried to call herself a big black woman, right? Monique is clearly uncomfortable with her weight and she's losing weight and she looks good, she's healthy. But Monique, you're not a big woman, okay? You're not any of the things that you claim to be. And she tried to make this a racial thing. She's taken a lot of checks from racist companies. The only reason Monique is coming out talking about these things is because the money did not go the way that she wanted it to go. If she had gotten the amount that she thought she should have gotten, she wouldn't even have spoken about this. She would not have. But she claims that they are racist and discriminating against her for her age, all kind of stuff. They've given Shonda Rhimes a ton of money. They've given a bunch of talented black women tons of money. They've given talented black men tons of money. They've given white women tons of money, and they've given white men tons of money, and Spanish people, and it goes on and goes on. You're only as good as what you can negotiate, and you need to fire Sydney as your manager, and maybe try to get Chris Rock's manager or Dave Chappelle's manager, because they clearly know how to negotiate with a comedian and get them, their money. Her sole purpose for coming on this show is probably to go at Charlamagne and put Charlamagne in his place and this type of stuff. I think that she came off looking nasty and bitter and just petty and selfish. It's really crazy. The fact that, and let me say this, the fact that Monique is over $500,000 in back taxes, that goes to show you how bad of a manager she has. She sleeps next to her manager every night, and y'all couldn't manage to pay your fucking taxes. The reason why you didn't want to take that $500,000 because you wouldn't have no money left over, because you're doing bad business. You're not paying the taxes. You're not hot on the street. Get yourself hot on the street. You're doing all this touring and you don't have anything to promote because you're not smart business people. So, they need to take this whole campaign and try to do some better business. So, that's my thoughts on that. I felt that Charlamagne was professional, and he's not always professional, but he treated Monique with respect, and I just don't know if I could have sat there and treated her with the level of respect that he treated her with, because she really went on there to try to get at him, but I think that he came out looking pretty good. They both made some valid points, and let me say this: there definitely is discrimination that's in this business, but let's not get discrimination confused with bad business. And you can do business with somebody that you don't like. You can. But Monique is not coming in as on a strong level with her comedy. She keeps dating back to old things, and the old things she dates back to, the most recent things, are not even comedy. When she was asked about selling out arenas, which she has never done by herself, she could only go back to the Queens of Comedy from 2001. 2001. Some of this public that we need to buy things, they weren't even born yet. A lot of Monique's big fans are not even on Netflix. Now, I know that there's some fans of hers that are on social media and all that kind of stuff, but Monique and her husband were talking about Monique getting a standing ovation in a small club. But she is comparing herself to people selling out arenas multiple times, some of the biggest arenas in this country. And they said if Monique was given a chance, she could do it. That's part of the problem. People always want a handout. You begging Netflix for money. Go out and make your own money. Stop. If the institution is so racist, stop begging them for a seat at the table and make your own table. Do it your way. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at The Diamond K Show, at Radio on Fire, of course, daily, 9 a.m., radioonfire.com. You can always see our episodes live or on demand. Also on youtube.com/Dr. Diamond K. youtube.com/Dr. Diamond K. This Monique thing, I hope that it's over. I hope we don't have to speak about Monique anymore unless she has something for us to see.